it is becoming increasingly...
We are going to leave this now, take you live for a briefing on Capitol Hill.
Nobody's coming out.
Nobody's coming out?
No.
Where's my press room? Rachel, you want
I'll give you about 5 more seconds, and that's going to be about it. Vice Chairman and I wanted to come out. We've just had a meeting with the Deputy AG. It's a request that we made prior to Director Comey's departure, and it so happened that the timing of it meant that today was the earliest possible time that we could put it together. We didn't want to miss the opportunity. Since the committee has an investigation going on that is very similar to what the Department of Justice has going on, we felt that there was a great need to set up a process for deconfliction so that when we had witnesses that we needed to talk to, we made sure we weren't stepping on top of anything that might be an active investigation. Today, we were able to share that with the Deputy Attorney General, and we feel like that our investigation can go forward with a fairly good understanding of the rules of the road. So,
I simply want to add that I think it was a productive session, but I still have concerns about Mr. Rosenstein in terms of his role in the Comey departure, in terms of the memo. I expressed, and this is where, again, the chairman and I just disagree in terms of the needs for this narrowly tailored independent counsel. I expressed that concern to Mr. Rosenstein. He took it under advisement. I think as well, to pivot back to the worldwide threat hearing, I think it was important again to get all of the leadership of the intelligence community again on the record saying they were 100% certain that it was Russians interfered in our elections. They were agents of the Russian spy services. It's remarkable to me that it seems like this administration still denies that happened. And I thought it was very appropriate to get Mr. McCabe on the record that if he has sees any attempt, political influence or influence from the White House to try to squash his ongoing investigation, that he'll report it to the committee.
I think it's important to point out the place that the Vice Chairman and I still have 100% agreement. Yes. And that's that regardless of what happens by the Justice Department or by the FBI, that the investigation that's done by the Senate Intelligence Committee will continue on its current course as aggressively as we're able to based upon what we glean. We continue to hold interviews. As was noticed last night, we issued our first subpoena. I hope it's our last, because everything else might be voluntary. But in the absence of voluntary participation, we're willing to go to whatever basket of tools we feel is necessary.
Mr. Chairman and Vice Chairman. Mr. Chairman and Vice Chairman. Did the Deputy Attorney General describe his role in Mr. Comey's firing, and if the White House portrayed it accurately?
That wasn't the purpose of his visit with us, and I would ask you to maybe put that question to him or to the White House versus to us.
Did he express any concerns, though, about the circumstances of Mr. Comey's firing?
We didn't get into details about his involvement. You've got a copy of what he wrote. This is an individual that comes with unbelievable background. Certainly he fills the role. But our purpose of meeting with the DAG was to make sure that we had a way forward that both the Vice Chair and I understood and felt comfortable with.
Let me just add to that again, I voted for this individual. He comes with a solid record. I was very disappointed. I still find the timing of Mr. Comey's dismissal with Sally Yates' testimony on Tuesday, and the fact was Jim Comey was supposed to be in that hearing today, very troubling to me. It's one of the, I expressed that Mr. Rosenstein. I think he took it under
What do you
advisement.
mean that he said take it under advisement as special counsel, taking that under advisement?
I think he listened. I felt this is an individual that listened carefully, and I think he will weigh those issues.
On the worldwide threat report, Mr. Coates described a rising threat from Russia. Their cyber power seems to be able to mess up elections worldwide. What's your reaction to that?
I think that's consistent with everything as a committee we've looked at. An increasing desire on Russia's part geographically to have a presence. Their involvement not only in our elections, but what looks to be aggressively in French elections, Montenegro elections, potentially German elections. We might have a hearing in the not too distant future that gets into those elections outside of the United States, so the American people understand just what Russia as an adversary today is attempting to do.
And let me add on that. One of the things that I find so troubling, and this goes across all cyber threats, but I've heard one expert indicate that if you add up all of the costs of what Russia has spent trying to disrupt our elections, the French elections, what they'll spend to disrupt the German elections, the fact that the Dutch had to hand count their ballots because of fear of Russian interference, you add that all together, that is less than 5% of the cost of an aircraft carrier. So as we start thinking about asymmetrical threats that are posed in cyber, it's one of the reasons why I think cyber could be our greatest vulnerability.
And that's why today's hearing is probably more important than anything else Mark and I will do today. It's to share with the American people just how that threat has changed.
Mr. Chairman, have you invited Director Comey to appear, and if so, what do you hope to achieve by doing so?
We have sent former Director Comey a request to brief the committee next Tuesday. At this point, I have not gotten a response back on that.
Senator, did Mr. Rosenstein confirm that he threatened to quit over the handling of the Comey firing, and did you ask him about that?
We didn't ask him about it. He didn't share it with us. We were focused on deconfliction.
Senator, to what extent until now has the investigation required cooperation from the FBI? And to what extent in the future will it require, the investigation itself require cooperation?
I think Mark and I have shared continually that we've had unprecedented access to information, unprecedented access to interviews, that to date we have not been denied. Sometimes we've had some very crucial negotiations to get to folks that we felt we needed to talk to, but we're confident that everything we've done up to this point has been items that were needed in an investigation, and that the level of cooperation existed, and that's why meeting with the Deputy AG today was important, because that keeps our pathway open.
And I would simply echo that we both have sometimes been concerned around the pace of the investigation, but a lot of that is we are in uncharted territory with a lot of these intelligence community. So it is, at times, it's not been because the chairman and I have had a disagreement by any means. It's been because they're an area, there's no playbook for how they share this kind of information with not only a congressional committee, but with the staff that we've got dedicated.
Senator Burke, you talk about the pathway and deconfliction. Is your pathway open between your priorities and FBI priorities, and is there any concern from both of you? I know that you disagree on this, but that a special counsel could interfere with your work.
Well, I don't think I make no judgment on whether a special counsel would interfere. This investigation will go forward and will be completed. It's a commitment that the Vice Chairman and I have with each other. He may have a different opinion as it relates to an independent counsel than I do, but we share one similarity. We're both committed to finish this investigation by the Senate Intelligence Committee, because that's our job. And we're going to do it right, because that's what's expected of us. And anything short of that is to say to 85 other members of the United States Senate and the American people, we're the wrong ones to do oversight on a daily basis. We believe we're right, and we're going to prove it in the accuracy of our investigation.
But did you decide in there that your path is clear, that, for instance, subpoenas of Flynn won't interfere with what the FBI is doing?
We're very comfortable.
We feel very good.
Yes, ma'am.
president says that he's not
he
a
understood that we
target
needed
of
to
this.
deconflict, and I think we'll have an appropriate process in place.
The president said in his letter that he was told he's not a target of this investigation. Can you eliminate that as a possibility?
We can't comment on that. That's a conversation that took place between supposedly Director Comey and the president. Our job is to make sure that we follow the intelligence where it leads, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to make a definitive determination as to whether that statement's accurate.
And I would just add that I would refer you to Mr. McCabe's comments about what traditional procedure would be, that would not be something that in a traditional case would be discussed.
Are you confident in the answers you got from
Lisa from the PBS NewsHour. You said that this meeting was to set up the rules of the road. How would you describe what those are? And did Director Comey come up at all in this meeting?
Director Comey did not come up. He was not the subject of it. And though there are some details to work out, there was acknowledgement and understanding of the need for us to be able to pick up the phone, share with them what we were likely to do, and could get immediate clearance on whether that interfered in any way, shape, or form with what their investigation.
The only thing I would clarify on that is, and the DAG did not address it, but I raised the point. One of the reasons why I felt the need for the independent counsel was because of I think the very messy process that went through in the firing of Jim Comey.
Your thoughts on the disparity between Andrew McCabe's testimony today and the White House account that Russia is not a top priority?
I'd address that to either Acting Director McCabe or to the White House. It's not. That's not an assessment we're going to make. We're looking at threats from a standpoint of what went on.
And it is clearly, though, the amount of time that we're both spending and staff spending, it is a priority for this committee to get to the bottom of this.
With everything going on, are you confident that Director McCabe is ready?
That Mr. Rosenstein can lead the Russia investigation?
Well, listen, I don't think that's up to Senator Warner and myself to make. The president's made a determination. If at any point he doesn't feel he is, then a change would be made. If for some reason the DAG determined he couldn't carry out his job, he would make a decision. We don't have the luxury of picking who we work with. We work with who's inserted in the roles, and we work out the pathways that best accommodate the needs of what our mission is. And in this case, it's the investigation. One last question.
Have you gotten a response to your subpoena?
One last question.
The president just told Lester Holt that he was going to fire Director Comey, whether or not he had that recommendation or not, and he called Director Comey a showboat and called him a grandstander. Do you agree with that assessment? You just heard something different from these.
I'm not going to speak for Senator Warner. I'll let him do that. I put out a statement the night of the director's firing. I found him to be one of the most ethical, upright, straightforward individuals I've had the opportunity to work with. He provided our committee more access to information than any director of the FBI. Sure, there were FBI employees that disagreed with how he handled the Clinton email announcements and his interaction or lack thereof with the Attorney General at the time. The lion's share of FBI employees respect the former director, and it shows the professionalism that he brought to the role that he was in. And I'm sure he will, at some point, have an opportunity to share, if he wants to, his side of the story. But I'm confident that the Vice Chair and I look forward to working with Acting Director McCabe in the interim, or whoever the president chooses, because at the end of the day, Mark and I do realize whoever is president has the authority to pick their director of the FBI. We don't fault that.
Let me, I trusted Jim Comey. I echo what the chairman said in terms of his willingness to work with our committee. I thought he had made some mistakes last fall, but I never called for his resignation. I thought he was a straight shooter. And frankly, I'm offended at the president's comments today. This is a continuing pattern of disrespecting the men and women who serve in our intelligence community. And I think the president would be better served, regardless of what his views would be, supporting the IC rather than continually questioning and candidly repeatedly calling into question the leader's integrity.
Thank you, guys. We got
Thank
a very
you.
busy day.
And a live briefing there, the chair and ranking member of the Intelligence Committee, which has been meeting today, Republican Senator Richard Burr, the chair of North Carolina, Democrat Mark Warner, the ranking member of Virginia, with an update on their hearings so far on Russian influence on U.S. elections, the firing Tuesday of FBI Director James Comey, and the new Deputy Attorney General's role, Rod Rosenstein, as the investigation goes forward.